Upset with Seong Yan, Shu-chin decides to spend the night at Dr. Yang's house. Seong Yan calls her and asks her to come back, but Shu-chin says she will only return when he is ready to share his past with her. While the couple suffers from being apart, Yzi talks to Yan Chen about Yzi. He mentions that he knows they've been meeting, but warns him to be careful with that kind of girl. Yan Chen replies that he is only worried about her going down the wrong path and that they have nothing in common. The next day, Miao tells Yzi that they earned nearly 20,000 last month and sends half to her account. Miao notices that Yzi has been distracted lately and asks for her help with new ideas to increase their profits. At that moment, she feels back pain, and Yzi helps her go to the doctor. Fortunately, Shu-chin says it is just a muscle strain and prescribes her a pain-relieving ointment. Yzi offers to go buy the ointment, and on the way, she gets excited when she sees Yan Chen. However, he only came to the hospital to bring a meal for his sister and doesn't notice her watching him from afar. As he is leaving, Yzi approaches him and says she wants to repay him for the previous lunch. Since he had to leave in a hurry, they could eat together today. Yan Chen says he doesn't have time and says goodbye. At the fire station, Seong Yan interrupts Xiaogei's training and asks him to come down to talk. Xiaogei worries that he has done something wrong, but Seong Yan only wants to ask about his relationship. He heard that Xiaogei and his girlfriend had a fight recently, but are now fine. Seong Yan wants to know how he convinced her to forgive him. Xiaogei says he apologized, bought gifts, and gave her kisses and hugs. Since Seong Yan already does this, he changes his question and asks what usually upsets his girlfriend. Xiaogei doesn't know either because her mood changes constantly. In the middle of his rant, he and his colleagues realize that the captain must have fought with Shu-chin. So Xiaogei gets straight to the point and asks what he did wrong. But Seong Yan says he did nothing. Xiaogei says that's the wrong attitude, because no matter what happened, she is always right, and he can never say he did nothing wrong. Only when everyone shouts for him to go apologize to Shu-chin does Seong Yan realize this wasn't a private conversation. As he runs away, his colleagues tease him, saying he's going to put out the fire at home. At the hospital, Dr. Yang is attending to a patient who claims to have a severe headache and asks her to prescribe codeine. Yang explains that because it is a controlled medication, she cannot prescribe it without proper tests. The man becomes desperate and demands that she give him codeine immediately. When Yang refuses, he pulls out a knife and threatens her while searching her bag for the medication. Shu-chin notices the police approaching and distracts the addicted man by saying she knows where to find codeine. She runs towards the police but gets slashed on the wrist by the man chasing her. Yang rushes to her, shocked, but relieved that the cut did not damage any nerves, which would have ended her surgical career. Upon learning about the incident, Director Shu calls Shu-chin for a conversation and reprimands her again. He tells her that she is a highly talented surgeon, yet she keeps putting herself at risk. Shu-chin reassures him that it was just a superficial wound and that she will be fine. Shu then grants her a few days off to recover fully and surprises her with the news that, upon her return, she will be promoted and join the research team. She thanks him for recognizing her, but he says it is the hospital that should be grateful to her. Yzi picks her up from the hospital and finds out that she and Seong Yan are not on good terms. She explains that he is hiding things from his past, and she asks for her cousin's opinion. Yzi says that when he gets married, he will also have things he prefers to keep secret from his wife because some stories should remain in the past to avoid affecting the current relationship. He adds that Seong Yan does not seem like the type of guy who would cheat on her, so it is either something dark from his past or something too painful for him to talk about. Shu-chin confesses that she feels bad because he doesn't trust her, never asks for help, and doesn't let her see his vulnerabilities. He knows everything about her, but she feels there is a barrier between them, preventing her from getting closer. Yzi takes Shu-chin to Yang's house, where Shu-chin introduces them, but they recognize each other from the Wangxiang disaster. Yzi feels relieved knowing his cousin is in good hands. After Shu-chin goes to her room, he asks Yang to exchange contact information and to call him if they need anything. Returning from another mission and noticing a distant Seong Yan, Chi suggests he take a day off to resolve things with Shu-chin. He supports her, knowing how closed off his captain is to everyone. But with her, it's different because she will be his wife. Moreover, due to their dispute, Seong Yan doesn't even know that she got injured on her wrist while trying to protect a colleague from an addict with a knife. Worried, Seong Yan calls Shu Qin. She tells him she's hurt, but the cut isn't deep and then hangs up. Unable to bear being away from her any longer, Seong Yan asks Chi for the doctor's contact and leaves immediately to find out where Shu Qin is staying. Arriving there, Seong Yan tries to see her wound, but Shu Qin doesn't let him touch her. He says he brought food for them to have dinner together, but she replies that it's not food she needs, but answers. Seong Yan apologizes, admitting that he is very self-centered, always making decisions without consulting her. Having been single for so many years, he didn't realize how many bad habits he had. He is used to solving everything alone, but now that he has her by his side, he knows he needs to change. He promises that in the future, he will discuss everything with her before making decisions, but asks her to leave his past aside. Shu Qin says she feels he doesn't trust her as much as she trusts him. She trusted him so much that she left everything she had to be with him, but he can't even open up to her completely. In a flashback, we see what really happened in Seong Yan's life. After high school, he planned to attend the same university as Shu Qin, but her mother sabotaged his grades through bribery, causing him to fail. Seong Yan's uncle knelt, begging her not to destroy Seong Yan's future, but she ignored him. Unable to enter any university, Seong Yan enlisted in the army, where he excelled due to his combat skills and leadership. After his heroic actions in the mission where he eliminated terrorists and saved his comrades, he was informed that he would receive a Medal of Honor and be promoted to officer. Standing before his father's grave, Seong Yan proudly tells him about his glorious achievements, that he will be decorated, promoted, and will finally reunite with Shu Qin to proudly propose to her. However, at that moment, his father's former colleague appears. Seong Yan tells him he is not welcome there, reminding him that his father tried to protect him from Guo Kun, but the man betrayed him for some money. The man provokes him, disrespecting his father's grave and saying his father's death was because he wasn't man enough to keep his wife at home, who left him for another man. Seong Yan loses his temper and gives the man a good beating. Of course, all this was part of Chen Jin's plan, who wanted to prevent him from being promoted and progressing in life. After being expelled from the army, Seong Yan decided to join the fire department, vowing to honor that noble profession and climb the ranks until he was worthy of standing before Shu Qin with dignity. In the present, while having lunch with his family, Seong Yan's aunt mentions that she hasn't seen Shu Qin lately. Seong Yan simply says that she has been busy with work. Miao suspects that he made her angry again and asks him to tell her what happened so she can help them make up. Seong Yan doesn't respond and just leaves the table, which makes Miao worried. Miao pretends to have back pain again, just as an excuse to meet Shu Qin at the hospital and understand what is going on. She tells Shu Qin that Seong Yan is lovesick and can't even sleep properly. No matter what mistake he made, Shu Qin must forgive him. Shu Qin tells her to leave because she needs to attend real patients, and Miao says she will wait for her. Outside the hospital, Shu Qin says she is not angry with Seong Yan, but sad because he doesn't trust her. Everyone in his family knows about his past except her, making her feel like she doesn't belong to that family. Miao says he doesn't talk about it to protect her. Realizing Miao's naivety, Shu Qin pretends she is thinking of breaking up with Seong Yan since she can't date someone who doesn't trust her. Miao panics and begs her not to do that, insisting that Seong Yan just doesn't want to see her sad. Shu Qin says she left her own family just to be with him, but now she feels alone, so she will break up with him. Under pressure, Miao runs to her, promising to tell everything. She explains that after failing the university entrance exam, Seong Yan studied hard to join the military as an officer because he wanted to be worthy of dating her. But that year, his medical exams falsely showed he was unfit to serve. However, his uncle took him to another hospital for new tests, which found nothing wrong. Realizing it was a setup, he went to Chen Jin to beg her to leave his nephew alone, but she refused. So Seong Yan enlisted as a regular soldier, and thanks to his excellent physical abilities, he was transferred to the Special Forces on Border Defense. There, he took a bullet to save his comrades and complete the mission. When he was finally about to be promoted to officer, he was accused of assault and expelled from the army. That was when he joined the fire department, stood out, became a captain, they reunited, and the rest she knows. Shu-chin cries, realizing how difficult and painful Seong Yan's life has been, all because of her mother's endless cruelty. Miao tells Shu-chin that whenever her brother was in moments of despair, she was his motivation to keep fighting. She is his reason for living, which is why he can't stand the idea of seeing her suffer and continues to fight alone. Furious, Shu-chin goes to her mother and finally confronts her. She throws everything she has discovered in her face, tearing away the false mask of a dignified woman and revealing Chen Jin's true, selfish, manipulative, and sick nature. In her arrogant denial, Chen Jin pretends to know nothing, claiming this is just Seong Yan trying to manipulate Shu-chin against her family. Shu-chin gives up on this heartless, soulless woman and questions her father if he was also involved. Seeing Mr. Meng stutter, Chen Jin decides to tell the truth. Yes, she prevented Seong Yan from entering university, sabotaged him in the army, and tore up all the letters he sent to Shu-chin. And she has no regrets. Because his father was a scoundrel who tried to harm the family business, his mother was a gold digger who abandoned him for a life of luxury, and he was a delinquent deceiving her daughter. Shu-chin argues that Seong Yan is not responsible for the parents he had, and that he never deceived her. They loved each other, they still love each other, and they will continue to love each other. She always saw Chen Jin as a true mother and dreamed that she would accept her happiness, but now it doesn't matter anymore. Now that she knows who Chen Jin truly is, she understands she was never seen as a daughter, but only as a tool to be used in a marriage alliance benefiting the Meng family. To keep that tool under her control, Chen Jin tried to destroy Seong Yan's life, the man who was freeing her, so she would remain her puppet. Chen Jin calls her ungrateful and says she is disappointed in her. Shu-chin, even more furious, calls her pretentious and says she can't understand how, even after everything she did, she still considers herself superior to Seong Yan. She should be ashamed of being such a horrible, unworthy person. Mr. Meng interrupts, demanding respect. Chen Jin tries to play the victim and tells Shu-chin to report her to the authorities and put her behind bars. Shu-chin says she won't do that, but asks her never to call her daughter again because they can no longer be a family. Before leaving, Shu-chin gives a final warning, threatening that Chen Jin should never interfere in Seong Yan's life again. Shu-chin admits she doesn't have as many resources as Chen Jin, but she swears she is willing to die or kill to protect him. As Shu-chin leaves, we see that Yan Chen had heard everything from the stairs. Shaken by his sister's words, disappointed in his parents, and ashamed of what he previously said to Seong Yan, he refuses to show respect to his mother again. He sarcastically congratulates his parents for being excellent educators because he became a true gentleman, unlike his father. Yan Chen says he has been loyal to them since birth, respected them, and ignored his own suffering just to avoid disappointing them. Chen Jin tries to stop him, but Yan Chen asks her to look him in the eyes and understand the suffering she caused him all these years, treating him like a puppet instead of a son. He asks if she doesn't feel shame or regret, but he knows she doesn't. She can only care about herself. In a now empty house without their two children, Mr. Meng also confronts Chen Jin. He tells her that he was also against Shu-chin's relationship, but after they broke up, she didn't need to keep pursuing and hurting Seong Yan, who was just a young boy. Chen Jin reminds him of the poor upbringing Seong Yan must have had, and insists she will never allow him to be with her daughter. Mr. Meng looks at the family photo thrown on the floor, feeling the pain of not having been able to protect his children all these years. Shu-chin runs to Seong Yan and hugs him, begging to reconcile, promising she will never leave him again. She apologizes for arguing with him and for leaving home. Seong Yan says what matters is that she came back to him. Shu-chin says she missed him so much that her heart hurt and asks him to come inside their home. Seong Yan's uncle and aunt see them entering together and feel happy to see they have reconciled. Still shaken, Yan Chen goes to Yixiao's bar. After serving him, the waitress calls Yzi, informing her that he is there. Hearing this, Yzi cancels the data analysis she was doing with Miao and says she needs to leave. When Yzi arrives at the bar, Yan Chen is already unconscious from drinking too much. As he opens his eyes, he first sees Shuqin in front of him, but then he realizes it's Yzi and asks what she is doing there. She shows concern for him, asking about work problems and again offering lunch to repay him. Yan Chen just watches her talking and trying to charm him and smiles with irony. She asks what he is laughing at, and Yan Chen, drunk and tired of it all, compares her to Shuqin, saying that moths and butterflies may look similar, but there is a huge difference between them. Butterflies love to fly under the sunlight, while moths only fly under the shadow of the night. Already shaken, Yzi asks him to be clearer with his words, but Yan Chen just asks her to leave. She tells him she likes him and doesn't understand why he is treating her this way. Yan Chen says he wants to be alone, so he gets straight to the point. He asks how much she needs to finish paying for her college and how much for her monthly expenses. He is a businessman and is ready to negotiate so she can leave him alone. He is not stupid and has known her intentions from the beginning. Yzi asks if he was deceiving her all this time, but Yan Chen says she has nothing to offer him that would make it worth deceiving her. He takes one last drink and tells her to leave. Yzi runs through the bar's corridors and hides in a corner to cry. After calming down, she changes the expression in her eyes and returns to the private room where he is now unconscious again. She enters and closes the door. A few hours later, Yan Chen is lying on the sofa, while Yzi has torn clothes and visible marks of assault on her face. Chen Jin wakes up in the middle of the night, feeling restless, and decides to call her son. Yzi answers but doesn't say anything, only making pained sounds before hanging up. She then calls her college, saying she was assaulted and asks for help. The Meng family's lawyer is called, and he quickly devises a plan with Chen Jin to cover up the incident and destroy the life of the girl involved. He sends a message to Yzi, offering her a large sum of money. But just as she is about to reply and accept the offer, Yan Chen stops her. He tells her that if she sends that message, Chen Jin will use it to prove it was a scam and will even accuse her of blackmail. He will be acquitted, and Yzi will end up in jail. Yzi claims she has proof of his crime, but Yan Chen reveals that he was only pretending to be unconscious the entire time. The only proof she has is a video showing him sleeping drunk while she appears injured. That is not enough to defeat Chen Jin. As he is about to leave, she screams that she will call the police and ruin his life. Yan Chen says that is a great idea and encourages her to do it. He will be waiting. Yzi thinks he is bluffing and starts dialing the police, but he urges her to hurry, warning that if she doesn't call soon, he will leave. Desperate, she makes the call. Meanwhile, the lawyer finds it strange that she hasn't responded because, in such situations, no one usually makes the right decision. Suddenly, Mr. Meng receives a call informing him that his son has been arrested. To make matters worse, Yan Chen did not deny the crime, even though he is innocent. Upon hearing this, Seong Yan rushes to check if Shuqin is okay, but she is still unaware of what happened to her brother. At that moment, Yixiao calls and asks her to meet him. She and Seong Yan get in his car, and on the way, they see the news about the alleged crime committed by the Meng family's heir. Yixiao explains that the biggest problem is that the police won't allow anyone except the lawyer to see Yan Chen, but he refuses to talk to the lawyer or have any defense against the accusation. Shuqin realizes that he must have been at the Meng house and probably heard her argument with their mother the previous night. This must have shaken him deeply. At the police station, Shuqin finds her parents, who are visibly worried. Mr. Meng asks her to help convince Yan Chen. Shuqin then asks the lawyer to tell her brother that she will be waiting for him at home to resolve this situation together. Meanwhile, Seong Yan asks Yixiao if he has any clues about who the girl is. Yixiao reveals that she used to work at his bar, but he noticed her intentions and fired her some time ago. He suspects that some employee must have told her about Yan Chen's presence there. Seong Yan asks if he has security camera footage, but Yixiao says they only have cameras in the corridors, not in the private rooms. Seong Yan tries to figure out what really happened, and Yixiao explains that the girl had been trying to seduce Yan Chen for some time, but when he exposed her, she wanted revenge. He shows the footage of a girl peeking into the private room at that time, but he doesn't know who she is. Seong Yan recognizes her. It's Meow. That night, Meow had decided to follow Yzi to discover what she was prioritizing over her influencer career. But she was shocked to see Yzi in that private room, scratching herself with her own nails while Yan Chen slept on the sofa. Finding it very suspicious, she decided to record it. Seong Yan returns home and finds Meow on the terrace. He tells her that he knows she saw what happened with Yan Chen and asks her to be the witness who will clear his name, but she refuses to help the Meng family. Seong Yan urges her to understand the seriousness of the situation. Meow is a good girl, and he doesn't want to see her consumed by hatred. Seong Yan knows she is smart and probably recorded everything. If she doesn't show it to the police, Yan Chen's future will be ruined. Meow replies that it doesn't compare to everything the Meng family made Seong Yan go through, so she doesn't feel a bit of pity for them. Seong Yan says he has already forgotten the past, and she should too. Meow argues that she can't forget the 10 years she spent watching him being sabotaged in everything he tried to do. She can't forgive her father begging Chen Jin to leave him alone and being treated like garbage. If Seong Yan wants to pretend he has forgotten the past, that's fine, but she will never forgive them. Seong Yan admits that he hasn't forgiven them either because that is impossible, but he chose not to hold a grudge to avoid spending the rest of his life consumed by resentment. He tells her he is not asking her to save Yan Chen, only to do the right thing. Meow finally agrees to hand over the evidence but says she needs to do something first. Yiqiao rushes to the Meng residence to inform them that a key witness has come forward with evidence proving Yan Chen's innocence. Chen Jin immediately says she'll pay whatever it takes for the footage, but Yiqiao replies that the girl doesn't want money. When they find out it's Seong Yan's sister, the Mengs go to meet her. Even in that situation, Chen Jin doesn't lower her pride and arrogantly asks how much the girl wants. Mr. Meng, however, is more cautious and shows respect toward Meow. He admits they've done terrible things in the past and asks what he can do to make amends. As Meow reflects, Chen Jin takes full responsibility, insisting that Mr. Meng knew nothing about her actions. She asks Meow to take revenge on her but to help her protect her son, who is innocent. Meow reminds her of all the harm she did to Seong Yan, who was also innocent, and yet Chen Jin never cared. The despair the Mengs are feeling now is the same pain Meow and her parents endured for years as they watched injustice being done to Seong Yan. She says her parents and her brother are too kind. They even wanted to spare Shuqin the pain of discovering her parents' true nature. But Meow is different. She saw her father kneel before Chen Jin, and now she wants to see Chen Jin kneel before her. Chen Jin is visibly shaken but agrees. Mr. Meng holds her back and begs Meow to let him kneel in her place, but Chen Jin stops him, saying the guilt is hers alone. If someone must be humiliated, it should be her. Unfortunately for us, Meow isn't just cute. She's also kind-hearted. She stops Chen Jin at the last moment, saying that Shuqin is her sister-in-law now, and she couldn't face her again if she humiliated her parents. Instead, Meow demands that Chen Jin admit her crimes and pay for them. She will give justice to Yan Chen if Chen Jin gives justice to Seong Yan. Back at the police station, Chen Jin's expression shows she agreed to the deal. Accompanied by her husband, she approaches an officer and says she's there to turn herself in. As she's escorted down the hallway, she crosses paths with her son. Furious, she lunges at him and asks why he did this. She says she raised him so well, only for him to turn against her. Yan Chen replies that she committed crimes and someone must take responsibility. If she didn't turn herself in, he would be punished in her place. Shuqin arrives and, for the first time, sees her mother in such a vulnerable state. Chen Jin tells both her children, who now despise her, that if imprisoning her is what it takes for them to be free, then so be it. Meanwhile, Yzi, who was in the interrogation room, is declared guilty and taken away in handcuffs. Outside, police officers inform her supporters, who were protesting, about the video that shows Yzi injuring herself to frame Yan Chen. The young people, realizing they were manipulated, react angrily. The police ask them to take down the posts accusing Yan Chen and to publish a formal retraction in the newspaper. Yan Chen goes to see Yzi and, with sadness and sincerity, tells her that if she needed money, she could have just asked. he would have given it to her from the beginning. She didn't have to go that far. Yzi becomes angry, frustrated that he still doesn't understand. She tells him she never wanted his damn money. He feels so superior because he's rich and powerful that he assumes people like her only care about money and could never have genuine feelings. But now she wants to know. If he wasn't interested in her, if he really believed she was just after his money, then why did he keep coming to her? He protected her and her friend at the bar from those harassers. Then he said he was afraid she'd go down the wrong path and pulled her out of that job, getting her something better. He invited her to a beautiful concert that moved her. He cared about her life, her hobbies, her future. So how could she not fall in love with him? Yan Chen, visibly shaken, says he only wanted to help her make better choices. Yzi asks if this, where she is now, is the right path he wanted her to follow. She says her life was dull and colorless. Then, one day, a ray of light appeared and lit up her heart. When that light walked away, she desperately wanted it back. But while she saw him as that ray of light, she realized that to him, she was just a project, something he could abandon at any moment, a moth that should remain in the dark. When he tells her he came to say he's dropping the charges, she becomes even angrier because he still insists on being good to her. She wanted to hate him, but he doesn't even allow that. Meanwhile, at the police station with the lawyer, Mr. Meng is informed that since Chen Jin turned herself in and is in poor health, posing no threat to society, she will be granted probation. However, she will not be allowed to leave the city. Talking to his wife, Mr. Meng tells her that she needs to reconsider her opposition to Shuqin's relationship, because he no longer doubts their daughter will marry Seong Yan. Chen Jin says that after everything she's done, it would be impossible for their two families to become one. Sensing the weight of guilt finally pressing on her, Mr. Meng confesses that he always knew what she was doing, but never stepped in. He let her play the villain while he quietly reaped the benefits. He says he's grateful for everything she's done for him and their family, and asks her not to give up now. Shuqin asks her brother if he heard her arguing with their parents that night, and he confirms. She tells him that while their parents are guilty of many things, they didn't deserve the punishment he tried to impose. If it weren't for Miao, his life would be completely ruined now. Yan Chen says he finally understands why Shuqin chose to stay with Seong Yan even after all these years. He is determined, honorable, and truly loves her. Despite all the challenges, he never gave up on her. They deserve to be together. Now that he's free from their parents and knows he no longer needs to take care of her, Shuqin tells him to live his own life and to be happy. Later, Miao and her dorm mates walk into their room and find Yzi there. Her roommates are furious and call her shameless for showing her face after making them look like fools for defending her online. Miao notices Yzi holding a withdrawal form. She's dropping out. Not only is her influencer career over, but now she won't even graduate. Before leaving, the angriest roommate says she even feels sorry for Miao, who spent so much time managing Yzi's account only for it all to go to waste. Alone with Miao in the room, Yzi apologizes for making her lose the account she worked so hard on. Miao asks what she plans to do with her future, but Yzi says she doesn't even know if she still has one. Miao asks if she's supposed to feel guilty about that, and Yzi replies that she's actually grateful for what Miao did. If it weren't for her, she might not be alive right now. The guilt would have destroyed her. Yzi thanks her for being a friend and says goodbye before walking out. Jukin agrees to have lunch with her father, and during the meal he informs her that her mother will be returning home in a few days. Mr. Meng asks Shuqin to make time to visit her, as she is very fragile right now. Seeing her hesitation, he admits they were selfish parents, but assures her that they always loved her just as much as they love Yan Chen. Moved, Shuqin admits that she still can't forgive them for what they did to Seong Yan. Mr. Meng reminds her that they are a family, and that bond is for life, something that can't simply be broken. He acknowledges they have issues with Seong Yan, but says he is willing to try and fix things. Shuqin asks how he plans to do that. How will he give back the university life and military career that were taken from him? He doesn't realize how proud Seong Yan is, the kind of man who always fights back against those who hurt him. Yet, despite everything, he never retaliated against them. Even though he knew the Meng family had business rivals who would have paid handsomely for such information, he never exposed them. He stayed silent through all the injustice, for her. And now they expect his to forget it all, treat them as family, call them in-laws, and sit down for friendly lunches? Mr. Meng backs off for now, but says there is still a long road ahead, and he doesn't intend to give up. As they say goodbye, he gently asks if she will at least allow him to be present at her wedding. Moved, Shuqin nods in agreement. While Seong Yan and Shuqin spend the weekend together, watching the rain, helping his uncle fix the roof, tending to the plants, and enjoying simple domestic moments, back at the fire station, Jiang Yu continues his efforts to get closer to Li Meng. He gives her a small plant, saying that every time she waters it, she'll think of him. Meanwhile, Mr. Meng decides to take the first step and pay a visit. But as he approaches, he hears laughter in the distance and sees Seong Yan and Shuqin smiling, with Seong Yan carrying her on his back as they return home. Inside, Miao and her parents are setting the table for lunch when they're surprised by the couple entering the house, with Mr. Meng right behind them. The atmosphere becomes a bit tense, but Mr. Meng is determined. He approaches the Zhai family and apologizes for the unexpected visit. Mr. and Mrs. Zhai warmly offer him a seat at the table and invite him to join them for lunch. After a welcome toast with Mr. Zhai, Mr. Meng explains that he's there because he wants to talk about their children's relationship, and, as the bride's father, he would like to help with the wedding preparations. He says he's placing his daughter in their care. After a heartfelt family toast, Mrs. Zhai assures him that they've been taking very good care of Shuqin, and Miao adds that she's always walking around the house with a goofy smile. The only problem is that once Miao starts talking, she doesn't stop, and she nearly spoils the surprise that Seong Yan is planning for Shuqin. After the meal and more conversation about the future, it's time for goodbyes. But Mr. Meng asks Shuqin if Seong Yan can walk him out. He wants a private word with him. Alone with Seong Yan, Mr. Meng confesses that he was afraid to come there and find that Seong Yan might not be capable of taking care of Shuqin. But after this visit, he admits he's genuinely moved by this family. Their warmth and happiness are enviable, and he hopes Shuqin can be just as happy. Seong Yan promises that he will take good care of her and make her truly happy. Mr. Meng tries to apologize for all that Seong Yan went through, but Seong Yan gently cuts him off and says it's all in the past. He wouldn't change the path he walked, because he's doing just fine now. When Seong Yan enters the room and hugs Shuqin from behind, he tells her it's time for them to start looking for a house to rent. Shuqin agrees, but quickly changes the subject. She's noticed that he and Miao are hiding something from her. Seong Yan plays dumb, claiming she's imagining things. The next day, he takes her to visit a house he's thinking of renting. Seong Yan says the owner allowed her to see it first, and if she likes it, he'll ask his wife for permission for them to live there. As they walk in, Shuqin is immediately enchanted. Everything seems perfect. The house and the furniture are exactly how she once described her dream home to Seong Yan. In the spacious bedroom, not only is the bed just the way she likes it, but Seong Yan also shows her a special spot where they could keep their aquarium. Shuqin says she's already made up her mind. Before they came here, she searched several homes online, but none of them pleased her like this one. They have to rent it. Seong Yan tells her she's rushing. There's still one more part of the house she hasn't seen. He takes her to the rooftop garden, which is even more beautiful than the one she used to dream of. Plus, the location is perfect. There's no reason not to choose this house. Seong Yan says he'll call the owner's wife now and ask if they can stay. Excited, Shuqin urges him to call quickly. Suddenly her own phone rings. She teases him, saying he dialed the wrong number and is calling her by mistake. But Seong Yan replies that he called the right person, because she is the owner's wife, and this house is theirs. He then asks the owner's wife if she allows them to live there. Shuqin, playing along, asks how long he plans to stay there with his wife. Seong Yan answers, for the rest of my life." She hugs him tightly, thanking him for giving them the perfect home, but Seong Yan says it's not over yet. There's one last thing he needs to do. He kneels down and presents a sparkling ring, thanking her for coming back to him. She was the reason he dreamed of growing and becoming someone better. He promises to protect her just as he protects the city. Just like in the past and the present, his future will also be devoted to her. He swears eternal loyalty and love, and officially asks her to marry him. The next day, as Shuqin was putting the ring away before attending to her patients, her colleagues caught sight of the sparkling diamond and immediately surrounded her, full of curiosity about how the proposal went. At the fire station, the news also caused a stir when everyone found out that their captain was getting married. Completely different from how things were when they first reunited. Seong Yan now runs to greet her when Shuqin comes to visit. He invites her to officially meet his teammates and compliments her new lipstick. When she says it's one of the ones he bought for her, he smiles and says he wants it back, then steals it with a kiss. As they walk into the station, everyone is waiting and bursts into applause, celebrating their happy ending. After all, they had witnessed so many moments between the two and knew how deeply they loved each other. Seong Yan says they already know her as the doctor from the municipal hospital, but now he wants to introduce her properly, as his wife. Everyone cheers, welcoming their sister-in-law. Now it's Seong Yan's turn to be surrounded as the team jokingly demands he share his secret to winning over such a beautiful woman. They reminisce about the first time they saw the couple together, when Seong Yan had a toothache at the hospital. They all noticed the tension between them. They laugh, saying they used to think the captain was mad at her, but now it's clear. It was all part of his plan to win her over from the start. At home, Miao's mom asks why she's so worried about planning Seong Yan and Shuqin's wedding now, since it's not until autumn, to avoid the cold season. Miao replies that many couples get married in autumn, and if they don't book the hotel now, they won't get the date they want. Plus, she needs to choose the menu, finalize the guest list, and count the number of attendees. She's also the one trying on wedding dresses, so many that she ends up exhausted, only to still be undecided between 3 of them. She tells the boutique attendant that she'll return with her sister-in-law to choose between the final 3, which frustrates the clerk who assumed Miao was the bride after all that effort. Miao explains that her sister-in-law is a busy doctor who barely has time, so she wanted to save her some work by pre-selecting the best options. Understanding the situation, the attendant decides to help her further. Just as Miao thinks she can finally take a break, the clerk informs her that they've only picked the wedding dress. She still needs to choose the reception gown, and the bridesmaids' dresses too. When Shuqin meets her brother, she's happy to see that he seems much better. Yan Chen says he can't even remember the last time he slept so peacefully. As he pours her a glass of water and notices the beautiful ring on her finger, he congratulates her. He also takes the opportunity to give her an early wedding gift, something he wants her to wear during the ceremony. He then reveals that he has decided to focus on Guo-kun and will be taking over their father's position in the company. Shuqin asks what made him change his mind, and he replies that their parents are getting old. After their recent confrontation, they were deeply shaken, and now it's time for him to take care of the family. After saying goodbye, Shuqin sends him an emotional message, telling him how lucky she feels to be part of his family. From the first time she saw him, she knew she would always feel safe by his side, and she's grateful to have him as her brother. At home, Miao informs her about the pre-selected wedding dresses and says she already scheduled their photo shoot. When Seong Yan arrives, he sees Miao placing a princess-like crown on Shuqin's head, a beautiful wedding gift from Yan Chen to his sister. Shuqin talks about the pre-wedding photos they still need to take and expresses concern about the hotel reservations since she doesn't know how many of her relatives will attend. She even suggests canceling the larger celebration and having a simpler wedding. But Seong Yan refuses to downsize such a meaningful moment. Instead, he proposes they forget the hotel and hold the wedding at the fire station. That way, there'll be plenty of space, and they won't have to worry about availability. Shuqin loves the idea and happily agrees. Later, Yan Chen returns to the Guokun Group and formally introduces himself to the investors as the new company president. He is met with applause from everyone who already knows and respects his capabilities. Meanwhile, Miao is starting to worry about how long her brother and sister-in-law are taking to arrive for their pre-wedding photo session, until she sees them approaching from a distance, and her concern fades into a smile. Seong Yan and Shuqin walk toward her, radiant. She wears a wedding dress that seems made for this exact moment, a delicate crown atop her head. He wears a sharp suit, his eyes locked on her, steady and full of love. They walk side by side, exchanging intense glances, carrying the same connection they had when they were just two young people falling in love for the first time. Before the photographer's lens, the world seems to disappear. Seong Yan and Shuqin stare into each other's eyes in silence, as if every click only immortalizes what their hearts have always known. They belong to each other. They're not just taking pictures. They're sealing a story that began in youth and pain, but is now defined by resilience, love, and forever. The news broadcasts announce an orange alert issued by the meteorological department. A Category 6 typhoon is expected to reach the southeastern region of the city the following morning. Maximum wind force is expected to reach level 14, moving northwest at a speed of 18 to 20 kilometers per hour. Heavy storms and torrential rain are also forecasted. To protect the citizens, the city has opened its main floodgates in advance. But even so, the firefighters will need to act urgently. Commissioner Leon Jie announces that all holidays and leave are cancelled, and everyone must return to the station immediately to remain on alert for the next 48 to 72 hours. Gao tells the department leaders to remind their teams, they are the wall that protects the people, the shelter that will hold them through the storm, and they must be willing to risk their lives to keep them safe. There are 1.2 million citizens in Yancheng, and it is their duty to defend the city from this disaster. Families board up windows, block doors, and protect themselves the best they can. Streets begin to flood, and a reporter announces a revised analysis from the meteorological department. The typhoon warning has been raised from orange to red. This is an emergency alert issued by the Flood Control Authority. Everyone must remain indoors. At the hospital, more and more injured people begin to arrive, and the typhoon hasn't even reached its peak. Through social media, people share real-time updates about the most affected areas, rising waters, fallen trees blocking roads, and people trapped. Yan Chen is on his way home when he sees two people struggling to reach the hospital. He immediately offers to drive them to safety. The storm crashes down heavily, as if the sky were trying to wash away all the pain that stubbornly lingers. And there stands Yzi, alone, soaked to the bone, arms raised beside an open manhole warning passers-by. Tired, drenched, shivering, but steady. She doesn't have to be there. No one asked her to, but she chose to stay. A car skids to a stop in front of her. The window lowers slowly. It's Yan Chen. For a moment, they just look at each other. She's soaked from head to toe, eyes tired, her face marked by cold, but she still manages a faint, restrained smile. Worried for her safety, Yan Chen urges her to get in the car. Yzi calmly responds that she already called the city services, but their vehicle is stuck in traffic. If she leaves, someone might get hurt, so she'll stay. She's no longer trying to impress him. She's not waiting for him to see her. But here, in the middle of the storm, she is exactly where he always wanted her to be, doing the right thing. And the irony of that is not lost on either of them. Yan Chen has to keep going. He drives away, but not before looking in the rearview mirror. And there she is. Yzi, alone, small in the face of chaos, but unshaken. The ray of light that once lit up her world now watches from afar, too late to reach her. Only now does he realize she was never just a moth. She was a beautiful, rare butterfly. After Yan Chen drove away, a kind man noticed Yzi and chose to help. He placed his bicycles, bought with hard-earned money and used for rentals to pay for his daughter's college, over the open manhole to prevent accidents and allow Yzi to seek shelter. Unfortunately, the wind intensified. As soon as the man returned to his vehicle, the remaining bicycles were blown over and collapsed on top of him. Yzi rushed to help, but she didn't have the strength to lift them on her own. Thankfully, Seong Yan and his rescue team happened to be nearby and saw her calling for help. They quickly removed the bicycles from the unconscious man. Shu-chin arrived moments later, assessed his condition, and instructed the firefighters to carry him to the ambulance. Because the ambulance was low and could struggle in the rising water, Seong Yan instructed his team to drive the fire truck ahead to clear a safe path. He himself rode inside the ambulance to ensure the safety of everyone. On the way, they encountered a fallen tree blocking the road. As they got out to remove it, they discovered another civilian trapped underneath. The team rescued him and cleared the path to continue forward. Shu-chin urgently notified Seong Yan that the patient's blood pressure was dangerously low. They had to hurry. He contacted the dispatch center, reported the situation, and requested traffic coordination to secure a direct route to the hospital. The center uploaded a map to his tablet, highlighting the cleared roads, and asked him to follow it. Using the radio, Seong Yan guided the fire truck ahead on which streets to take. Thanks to the precise coordination between several teams, they arrived at the hospital just in time to save the man's life. That night, in a rare moment of rest, the exhausted heroes gathered under the cold rain to eat a quick snack and regain some energy. Meanwhile, disaster struck elsewhere. A city tunnel collapsed, leaving several civilians injured and at risk. Among them, we see a driver already dead at the wheel and his passenger regaining consciousness after the impact. To our shock, it's Shu-chin's mother. Water continues to rise, and as she realizes the driver hasn't survived, panic sets in. She struggles desperately to get out of the car, but to no avail. Her cries for help are swallowed by the storm, one voice lost among countless others. The command center receives word of the tunnel collapse and immediately relays the information over the radio. Seong Yan responds without hesitation, informing them that his team is nearby and ready to take on the mission. Their meal is instantly abandoned, and they rush to the scene. At the tunnel site, Seong Yan orders his team to spread out and search for survivors before the area becomes fully flooded. As the firefighters work quickly to rescue as many people as possible, Chen-jin remains trapped in her buried car, too weak to even call for help. The team eventually reports to their captain that all civilians have been evacuated and requests permission to withdraw before the tunnel collapses. Just as they begin to leave, a faint car horn pierces the chaos. Chen-jin, using the last of her strength, manages to press the horn. Alerted, Seong Yan turns back, following the sound until he finds the vehicle. The car is crushed, and the windows are too fogged and dirty to see inside. He can't open the door. Without hesitation, he tells the person inside to move back and breaks the glass. As Chen-jin sees the arm reaching toward her and lifts her gaze to the face of her rescuer, she freezes. It's Seong Yan, the same young man she once humiliated, the one she deemed unworthy of her daughter, the one she tried to erase from their lives. He says nothing. No judgment, no bitterness, just a hand, strong, calloused, and just. Frozen by shock and shame, Chen-jin hesitates for a moment. Then, grasping his hand, she feels something that undoes her completely. Safety. The very safety she once denied her daughter when she tore them apart. As Seong Yan carries her on his back, she feels small, not just in size, but in spirit, compared to the strength and integrity of the man saving her life. A man who rose above all the pain and prejudice she inflicted on him. A true hero. He lays her gently in the rescue vehicle and walks away without a backward glance. He wasn't looking for recognition. He never was. Inside the vehicle, Chen-jin hears other survivors speaking of the firefighters, their words filled with admiration and gratitude. She remains silent, her eyes distant, lost in a whirlwind of unfamiliar emotions. And when someone asks if she knows the firefighter who rescued her, Chen-jin responds with a trembling but steady voice. She doesn't just speak. Her face, her tone, her silence before the words, they say everything. He's my future son-in-law. It wasn't just a response. It was recognition, a long overdue acceptance. And more than anything, a silent plea for forgiveness. Finally, the calm settles after the storm, and everyone returns to their daily routines. Early in the morning, Li Meng looks at the plant Zhang Yu gave her and notices it has started to bloom. Just as he hoped, it's him she thinks about at that moment. Curious, she searches online to find out what kind of flower it is and learns it's a morning glory, a flower that symbolizes living in the present. She texts him saying she has solved the mystery, and he invites her to have breakfast with him. At his place, she discovers they share the same taste in books and is especially impressed to see one that's sold out in every store. She tries to reach for it but can't. When Zhang Yu helps her, their hands brush against each other, and as she turns toward him, a quiet but intense moment sparks as he hands her the book. Visibly flustered, Li Meng asks where he found it. He tells her it was at Mingcheng bookstore. Surprised, she admits she's a regular there but never saw it. Zhang Yu, pretending to be talking about the book, but really speaking of their connection, says, "You found it now. Not too early, not too late. At the right time." At a family lunch, Mr. Meng congratulates Xu Qin on her promotion. Chen Jin, still unsure how to express affection toward her daughter, comments that working in outpatient care is better than in the ER, though still very tiring. Unexpectedly, she asks about the wedding date and how the preparations are going. Xu Qin replies that she convinced Seong Yan to go for something more intimate, just for the family. To her surprise, Chen Jin criticizes the decision, saying a wedding is a special event and shouldn't be so simple. Mr. Meng chimes in, saying if Xu Qin wants a small ceremony, he supports her choice. His only requests are that she wears a wedding dress and lets him walk her down the aisle. Xu Qin agrees and everyone is happy, including Chen Jin, who tries to hide her smile. But everyone notices anyway. Xu Qin shows up unexpectedly at Dr. Yang's house to collect a few of her belongings she had left behind. Blocking the door, Yang insists she'll bring them over to Xu Qin's place later and tells her to head home. Suspicious, Xu Qin glances down and notices a pair of men's sneakers by the door, just as Yixiao cheerfully appears, calling Yang dear and proudly serving her a meal he cooked himself. Meanwhile, at the fire station, Seong Yan continues leading intense training sessions, sparing no one, not even the rookies. When one of them finally reaches the finish line, he asks Seong Yan for his time. Seong Yan replies that it was passable, enough to pass this round, but not yet good enough for the elite squad. Seeing his discouraged teammates, the rookie encourages them to keep training until they make it, which brings a proud smile to Seong Yan's face. Later, as Xu Qin and Seong Yan pack their things for the new house, she receives a message from Yixiao inviting them to join him and Yan Chen for dinner. Seong Yan agrees, and Xu Qin, thrilled, says she plans to drink tonight, since he'll be there to look after her. At the restaurant, Yan Chen greets Seong Yan warmly, and the four sit down together. When the owner of the place brings them menus, Yixiao introduces Seong Yan as Xu Qin's husband. The woman compliments the beautiful couple and promises a special dish just for them. The evening is simple, but filled with meaning, as if finally every piece of their lives had fallen into place. The next morning, Xu Qin wakes up in their new home. Soft sunlight pours through the windows, and she runs through the hallway to the flower-filled terrace where Seong Yan is already waiting. Without a word, she lays her head on his shoulder, like someone resting in a safe harbor after a long journey. She recognizes how hard the last 10 years must have been for him. Seong Yan confirms, yes, they were difficult, but necessary, just like the way he pushes his fire team through intense training to prepare them for what matters most. Life shaped him with that same rigor. A long and brutal training to become the man he is today. With calm resolve, he recalls the oath he took upon entering the army: to serve the people, be fearless and loyal, endure hardships, and just as he once swore never to betray his country, he now swears never to betray her. Xu Qin rests her head on his shoulder once again. And there, among flowers and silence, time seems to finally slow down. After so much loss, fear, and separation, they've found peace. Because the love between Seong Yan and Seong isn't built on empty promises. It's built on resilience, healing, and a new beginning. A love that survived time, pain, and wrong turns, to bloom at last like a flame that never went out.